Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we talk about something that actually doesn't happen very often on this show. This time we're talking about a video and its maker who actually apologized to us after we called them out last week. If you're not familiar with the Ancestry DNA test videos we've been covering on this channel, there's a link to the playlist below if you want to catch up, but basically, to put it briefly, we've covered 3 different times now that social justice warrior influenced women took public DNA tests that turned into huge and embarrassing scandals for them. The first time was the most prominent one when politician Elizabeth Warren took an Ancestry DNA test and then she tried to brag about being 1/1000th Native American, trying to get herself some victim points and also probably trying to help her presidential campaign. Then the next video we did about this was when an up-and-coming YouTuber named Nia Hope made a vlog about her own DNA test, which resulted in her literally crying and storming off camera when she found out she was part white. Finally, catching up on our latest video, last week we went over how another young YouTuber named Brittany Ann, well, she too got upset because she found out she was white, hoping to be part African or East Asian or something, and she did so in a very cringy and offensive way. And since our last video about Brit blew up last week, a number of new developments have happened in this story. First, I noticed a few comments on my own video a few days after it came out, and people were saying Brittany had shut down her whole channel. And come to find out, she didn't just take down that scandalous anti-white video of hers, she also privated her whole channel too. This didn't last long though, because just a few more days later and Brittany brought her channel and the video back up, and she even reopened the comments section on that video, probably because she heard me call her out for closing it in my own video. And also keep in mind too, I would never directly send anyone over to harass or attack this girl or anyone. I strictly say not to actually, and I even have warnings against doing this in all my videos descriptions. Really, I don't even want channels like this to be attacked, let alone shut down, but also people do have a right to seek these people out on their own and give them feedback as they see fit. This is all done independently of me though, for the record, moving forward, but at the same time, I also can't help but comment on all that's transpired. Apparently, the backlash from my video about Brittany's DNA test caused her to not only shut her channel down temporarily and bring it back shortly after, and then also reopen the comment section for conversation, but then she even did the unthinkable and actually made an apology video and is possibly attempting to admit they did something wrong. Our first 2 DNA test subjects completely refused to apologize like this, and they still try and claim they never did anything wrong too, so I have to immediately give props to Brittany for at least trying to correct her course here. She was seriously wrong and messed up when she made her first video, which belittled European descendant culture and also fetishized minority ones. But now we can at least say she somewhat saw the error of her ways, but whether or not she'll change or admit everything is still to be determined. Also, YouTube apology videos are pretty played out and repetitive too, and typically done with fake remorse and forced emotions and fake crying and you name it. Basically, the apology video premise is an overused internet trope at this point, and that might mean Brittany is trying to cash in on that trend now and make this kind of clickbaity title again too, just like how she clickbaited and joined in on the DNA test fad. With that said, let's give her a chance though. I haven't watched her apology video yet, so let's take a look together and see what Brittany has to say. The video is called DNA Test Kit Apology, and it even has links to her original video, which she left up and didn't delete in shame. And also, Brittany even put a link to my video talking about her below in her description, seeming like she's got nothing to hide here, like she's airing out everything and possibly going to admit she was wrong and try and move on. Let's see if this all plays out that way though, and check out the video for ourselves.
I didn't know if I would make this video. I will be honest, like my immediate reaction to this entire situation is just to delete the channel, just delete social media, and after a while it'll go away and I don't have to come back to this. But the more I thought about it and the more I talked through it with my friends.
Sounds like your friends gave you some good advice then, because deleting your channel and hoping everyone forgets about this was not a good strategy. Not to say you committed the worst infraction or crime worthy of being ridiculed forever, but also everyone should know by this point that the internet never forgets. I'm also not exactly feeling the video and angle of this apology of hers already. Between the cliche line, I didn't know if I was going to make this video, which is her introduction, which is what everyone says when they do an apology, Well, between that and this beg for sympathy at the beginning, I'm not sure I like where this is going. Hopefully she doesn't act like she's the victim here this whole time, because it's starting to seem like that's going to happen. The way she says she was going to delete her channel screams like it's a call for sympathy, when really, Brittany isn't the victim here at all. Sure, she's the receiver of some backlash, but that's because she did something wrong and partially deserves it. Brittany was obnoxiously anti-white and unbelievably pro-minority in her DNA test video, so her getting bad feedback from acting like an asshole doesn't make her the victim now. Really, the victims are white people and European descendants, which this girl said she was upset and called it rude for being related to them.
I'll give you guys a few roasting points because before I deactivated my channel and like made it private, a few of them were extremely hilarious. Obviously I had a lot of like not funny ones to me, but roasting point number one is my bad spray tan.
Seriously? The first roasting point you want to bring up is people made fun of your spray tan? Talk about burying the lead here. I would have started off by saying, hey, I was racist and offensive to basically every race and nationality, and people goofed on me for it. My bad. That's the kind of intro this video needed, but instead, Brittany is playing the victim again and acting like this all happened to her for no good reason. It did have a good reason though, and it didn't happen to you out of nowhere. This backlash happened because you were being offensive and mad about being a European descendant. Like that's some kind of bad thing. And then also this chick almost cried because she was so happy she might be part West Asian, which come to find out is often a term just used to describe Eastern European countries like Russia and sometimes Turkey, which would pretty much still make her white and European looking. But instead of bringing any of this up right away, Brit talks about people commenting on her horrible spray tan, which is something I didn't even notice before or mention. This really goes to show where her priorities are with this apology, that's for sure.
Yes, I can't help that. I scrubbed and scrubbed and this will just not come off. So I will never do a recommendation of spray tan at the moment. My cats, you'll see them at some point. I have two Persian cats, one's white and...
Not surprised you have two cats already. I see many more of those in your future. Also, you actually can help it here. You can help not giving yourself an awful spray tan. Just don't spray yourself. And you could have sat back and thought twice about posting that horribly offensive DNA test video too. You can help that. So with that said, I think it's a good time to stress this point again here. This girl really thinks she can't help anything. Nothing is her fault. Everything just happens to her, at least according to her worldview. The truth is though, this is a grown-ass woman who has authority and agency for herself, so making bad decisions like this will have consequences. Apparently she's not mature or wise enough to realize this yet though. That's why she so obviously is blaming everything that she does and causes to happen on everyone else. Her getting backlash for making an offensive video, that's not her fault according to her. Just like how spray tanning herself badly is not her fault either. And her videos and her channel doing poorly isn't her fault as well, because she blames it on everyone else.
I guess the first thing obviously that I have to address is the fact that I was just a dumbass in my video. Pardon the language. That's really what it is. It's one of my least favorite videos, even before this happened, to where it was blown up and I was like called out on stuff.
Yeah, we're more concerned with the being called out part here, lady. Not to double down on her too hard here. I still appreciate the effort, but the execution of this apology is certainly lacking. Like here, she says she looked like a dumbass in that first video, which is obviously true. We all saw it, and as I said before, I and many others worried she was actually a parody because it looked so bad it almost was hard to believe it was real. But admitting you looked like a dumbass isn't an apology. She never said she was sorry here yet. She just says she regrets looking dumb and regrets the whole video apparently. Not surprising, but not apologetic yet either. Really, she just looks like she's upset she got exposed for being dumb. And this is some kind of weak justification video trying to make some kind of PR-like move to turn the tide back in her favor. And well, this isn't going to work on me because it's transparent and very dodgy so far. Really, what Brittany needed to do was open up and fall on her sword and admit she was wrong right away without any excuses, and then we might have been able to move on.
The one thing you guys had been requesting in like the many comments is just to have it deleted, and I don't really feel like that's the route to go because I kind of believe in the fact of just like owning your stuff, and I'm gonna own that it was a terrible video
I think you might just want to leave that video up to try and get more attention and views. And owning that you made a terrible video before isn't apologizing for offending all the people you did there. Look, I'm not trying to be an SJW now. It may sound like I'm demanding an apology at this point, but that's not it at all. I could care less about apologies. And I've already been very clear, I think apology videos are dumb. In fact, a few years back, I made a parody of an apology video as a joke, making fun of the whole premise. Link to that video below. Now, with that said, I'm not one to ask for this at all, but if you do make a video and title it like this and reference me and my channel and my audience, well, you should at least try and get the apology right. At the very least, take responsibility. Admit that you were wrong in what you did. And in this case, it wasn't just making a dumb video. It was hating on white people and overly praising minorities like a typical leftist. In addition, you need to actually apologize and say the words specifically and directly. And until you do, I'm not buying any of this nonsense.
I don't know if I'm gonna do videos in the future. Again, I have a very small channel. I owe it to my subscribers that watch me regularly to make this video in general. That way, like, if I don't ever come back, it's not that I just disappeared and people are worried about me.
Still no apology, and now we got more begging for sympathy too. This is a classic girl move where they do something wrong, justify it, and make excuses for it, and then they act like they are the victim now because they were called out and or punished for their mistakes. The way this girl teases about possibly not making videos anymore is such a shallow call for attention, and many of her followers took this bait too, and they went on to beg her to continue in the comments, just like how she had hoped for. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here and we're almost 4 minutes into this so-called apology video, and she hasn't even said sorry or admitted to anything wrong besides saying, I made a dumb video, which is way more vague and ambiguous than this whole thing should be.
I want some of you guys to have closure, and that was the hardest part. Like, I don't get upset over reading like the mean comments. Like, yeah, it like hurts a little, I'm not gonna lie, that I can read certain things. Some of them, they were so wild, they were funny, but on others, it just like obviously hit a little closer to home.
We get it. You were seriously hurt by this, and I even feel a bit sorry myself because you're clearly unstable, and I do not wish ill will on anyone, especially the weak and fragile like this. But at the same time, you needed this wake-up call too. You're the one trying to make videos and post on the internet as a public hobby or potential career, so you should expect this kind of scrutiny and backlash often, especially if you're going to make wildly bigoted videos about race and make implications that some backgrounds and peoples are much better than others. So if you really are this hurt and sad and troubled already, perhaps it may be time to throw in your hat and give up on video making. Not because I don't want you to carry on or I think you did something so wrong you should quit or be fired. No, I think you should stop YouTube because you can't handle it and you're not strong enough to handle dissent, criticism, backlash, feedback, or justified attacks.
When I was disappointed that I was exactly what I thought I would be, that it was a letdown for me, and that's made a lot of you feel like I was let down, that I was white and that it was something shameful to be white, and I honestly want to apologize for that, for anyone that watched that.
Over 5 minutes in and we finally got our apology. Kind of neuters the impact when you couch something like this with excuses, self-pity, and talk about your cat and other distractions, but I guess I'll still take it. Just keep this in mind next time, Brit. And if you're watching along and have to apologize one day in the future, remember this too. Don't make excuses, don't justify, or even explain things a bit too much. Just say what you did wrong and apologize for it right away. And if you can follow that simple formula, you might not even get a second video made about you like how I did with this girl. I wouldn't have normally doubled down on this. I'm not a jerk and I'm not beyond forgiving her or anyone, but don't try and bullshit me with this either. If you promise an apology in your video's title, just give it and admit what you did wrong and move on and stop with all the other nonsense.
And then have that translate to them feeling shameful of being white. That's not my intention, and I sincerely apologize for that, and I see where that came across that way. And maybe it's uncovering some of my own biases that I didn't know I had.
That's actually a great point. Thanks for pointing that out, Brittany, and thanks for your apology and your admission of guilt. I truly am ready to let this go, and I say we all forgive and forget and let Brittany and her channel move forward in peace. But as for that last line she said here, I think that's important enough to end this video on. Brittany here is becoming aware of biases she didn't even know she had, and this is proof that the liberal indoctrination in her area and in her circles and at her schools and workplaces is very strong right now. This anti-white, pro-minority bias clearly clearly comes from radical left-wingers too, and Democrats and SJWs. They are pushing this identity politics, pro-diversity, and multiculturalism bullshit, and this girl really could be seen as a victim of that. I wouldn't take away all of her blame, of course, and it certainly doesn't justify anything, but it does explain a lot. Liberalism and social Marxism is destroying our youth and our teens and our millennials in our country, and it's anti-white propaganda designed to make us hate ourselves and overvalue minorities as well. Good on Brittany for apologizing and discovering that she's become a victim of that kind of propaganda and indoctrination, and perhaps this red pill she's taking now will change things and make her a better person in the future. What do you guys think? Was this DNA test girl's apology any good? And is this a good example of a troubling trend where millennials and younger people are thinking it's not okay to be white? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.